It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start with the fascinating revelations about how much the Democrats are paying mindless, unprincipled influencers to post anti-Trump, pro-Democrat propaganda. Crap like this.
Mr. Trump is out here trying to delete the Department of Education, and teachers are getting cut left and right. Our classes are packed and we have like zero funding.
Trump says America first and then guts the most American institutions we've got.
This is signaling preparations to possibly deploy the United States military against American citizens in Chicago.
Every Republican is currently in Congress voting to destroy the lives of millions of Americans.
So authentic, so much conviction from Lefties Losing It. Not really. According to a new report, a secretive dark money group tied to the Democratic Party is paying online influencers up to $8,000 a month to disseminate left-leaning talking points. Among those named is Olivia Juliana, the Gen Z activist who spoke at the 2024 Democratic National Convention.
As the saying goes, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
And the Democrats thought she was just the influencer to bring young, disaffected men back into the Democrat camp.
I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men. I love frat guys.
Yeah, that little campaign didn't work out so well, no matter how much she loves young men. Yep, the Democrats are so desperate to engineer support that they are paying influencers up to $8,000 a month to post lefty propaganda. They're trying to create the illusion of grassroots support, just like they tried to engineer fake news, Russian collusion hoaxes, and those weird polls right before the election that were all wrong in the same direction. And talking about polls, let's check in with CNN's polling expert on how well the Democrats are going. How are they going, Harry?
Bad, bad, bad. What are you doing? Oh, my goodness gracious. What are we talking about here in terms of big party registration changes in the key swing states? Let's look at the key 4 swing states that, in fact, do keep track of registration by party. Look, the Republican Party is in their best position at this point in the cycle since at least 2005. In all 4 of these key battleground states, we go out to the Southwest. Arizona. How about Nevada? Republicans haven't done this well since 2005. Oh, my goodness gracious, at this point in the cycle. North Carolina, I couldn't find a point at which Republicans were doing better at this point in the cycle. It's at least this century. It probably goes way back in the last century. And Pennsylvania, very similar. Republicans doing better at this point than at any point this century, at least as far as I could find.
I should have given the lefties a trigger warning before that last clip. For the rest of you, perhaps a cold shower or a cigarette after hearing this.
When it comes to party registration, Republicans have made massive gains compared to 8 years ago. They are in their best position in these key 4 swing states. But at this point, as I said at the beginning, the Democratic brand is in about as good a position as the Cracker Barrel rebrand. It is bad, bad, bad for the Democrats.
Bad, bad, bad for the Democrats. And one of the reasons the Democrats are struggling is their soft on crime philosophy. They don't care about law and order. They don't believe in properly punishing offenders. They don't prioritise victims and law-abiding members of the community. Just listen to this lefty losing it at the DNC summer meeting last week. Claimed that Americans don't care about violent crime. They're more worried about addressing mental health issues.
Issues voters care about. Where does Trump go? Migrant crime, carjackings, the really lurid, awful stuff that is a crazy, crazy visual. Don't take the bait, because most Americans are more worried about how are we going to address mental health issues, the visible homelessness that we see on streets, and how do we deal with mental health and other issues that drive the sort of random incidents that scare all of us. That's what you should be talking about. That's where you should be focused. Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans.
With the likes of her advising the Democrats, they'll be in the political wilderness for some time to come. And they're going so badly that the frontrunners to be the Democrat presidential candidate are awful. One of them is this woman.
And I ask you to remember the context in which you exist. Yeah, I did that.
Gosh, I miss that weirdo. She's still a front runner along with this next dude who has managed to cause untold damage in California. These days, Gavin Newsom pretends to be against the excesses of the trans cult, but it wasn't long ago when he was mocking, when he was laughing at the notion of parents being sidelined as their kids are being transitioned.
Why should parents not know if their kids are transitioning at school?
It's a hell of a thing. You're talking about 1% of the population. Climate change, its impact 100% of the population wasn't even brought up. And we're talking about trans issues.
Here in California, this is an issue for you.
It's a big issue for parents. This is a front and center issue.
Why should parents not know?
It's the great, this is one of the greatest distractions. And it's classic. 1% of the population in the United States. These kids just want to live. These kids just want to live. And we're having a debate about trans issues at the Reagan Library. It's not to be ashamed.
These kids just want to live. Oh, dear, Gavin. That video is all the Republicans need. They just have to play that on high rotation to ensure we never end up with President Newsom. God forbid. Joining me now is filmmaker and commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, I started Lefties with news that a dark money group is paying pro-Dem influencers up to $8,000 a month, according to Wired magazine. The names included in this report are among the most recognisable lefty influencers online, Ami.
Yeah, look, dark money is being used by everyone. Let me give you a real brief history of campaign finance in America. So there's hard money, right, spending, which means you give specific money to specific candidates. It's highly regulated by the Federal Election Committee, the FEC, and there are caps to what you can give to people. That led to what we call soft money. Now, soft money pre-2002 was when you can give an unlimited amount of money to political parties, not particular political politicians, but parties for use in those campaigns. Now, that was banned in 2002. And in 2010, we have another form of soft money, which is super PACs, which we all know about, which exists today, unlimited amount of money to people, but it must be disclosed. Now, dark money, which you were referring to, is a slightly different animal, which is you can give money to not super PACs, but you can give money to nonprofit organizations, unlimited amounts of monies, and you do not have to disclose who the donors are. And that's what we're referring to. Now, look, I may surprise you on this. I don't have a particular problem with it because it's legal and both sides do it. In fact, the Republicans excelled at it for a long time, right? But now, and the Democrats always bemoaned it, saying, oh, well, the rich billionaires are giving money to Republican candidates and causes. Now, that flipped in 2024. Now, Democrats in 2024 outspent Republicans 2-1, okay? They just figured out how to do it. Now, nothing to say Republicans can't do the same thing. They can't pay, I don't know, me, I'm just kidding, or influencers to promote talking points. They're just not doing it as effectively. So, look, do I have a particular problem? No. If you want to talk in context of total campaign finance reform, I'm open for that discussion. But right now, it's legal, and therefore I say Republicans, get your game on.
Well, I don't care if it's legal. I just think it's dishonest. I mean, giving money as a billionaire or anybody is one thing, but it's the lack of transparency that I have issue with. The fact that you've got these influencers pretending they are invested in an issue, creating content, sharing it to their followers, when really they're just motivated by the paycheck. What they actually think, who knows? And I think that's that lack of transparency. There should be some sort of a disclosure if you're taking money to state a particular opinion. Now, we know the Democrats paid the likes of Oprah and Beyonce to be part of their campaign. Don't you think there should be a requirement that anyone being paid for a political endorsement at least declares it somewhere?
Yeah, look, that's a very fair argument, and one that I'm not unsympathetic to. Now, there are disclosure rules, and while you don't have to talk about who donated money to dark money, the people receiving money do depend. It's a very gray area. Legally, you do have to disclose certain things, but there are ways around it, and I'm sure that these 501c3s have spent a lot of money on lawyers making sure that they are living on the right side of the gray area.
Now, Donald Trump says he's determined to tackle crime in America's big cities. These big cities are always run by the Democrats, and often they're riddled with crime army. We've got talking about places like DC, NYC, LA, Chicago. And the president posted this. He said 6 people were killed and 24 people were shot in Chicago last weekend. And J.B. Pritzker, the weak and pathetic governor of Illinois, just said he doesn't need help in preventing crime. He is crazy, capital letters. He better straighten out fast or we are coming. Ami, the Illinois governor has made a fool of himself in recent days for a number of reasons. But what do you see? How do you see his stance on law and order and his claim that Illinois, Chicago doesn't need Donald Trump or the feds in there helping them reduce crime?
Look, again, you and I have talked about this before. I have issues with using. Look, DC is one thing. Like we've talked about it before. It is under the mandate of the federal government. Now, when it comes to states, it's a whole different ball of wax. Look, I have seen the National Guard be used very effectively in certain places. For example, the BLM riots, right? Or the LA riots. Those are reasons, these are national emergencies that the president certainly has a legal right to call the National Guard to quell that. I've also seen the National Guard be used very effectively when they are going after specific targets. So, for example, you see them in transit hubs, at stadiums, at certain federal buildings, right? That have maybe specific targets or threats against them. Also very effective. The problem is that, look, the National Guard is a blunt object. They're not trained for policing. They have certain training and they're very good at it. And when it comes to, say, reducing crime in the short term, like in DC, they can do that very effectively. Long term, they're just not a police force, right? Police forces are trained in different ways. They need to know a neighborhood, know the community, do investigations on crime. That's how you effectively reduce crime long term. By effective policing. So, yeah, look, I see why you... Yeah. But
why can't Trump declare a national emergency? Why can't he decide that the crime rate in a city like Chicago warrants the National Guard being there? And I understand what you're saying about long-term solutions. They may go in there and reduce the crime rate for a period of time, but doesn't that at least show that it can be done, that there is a way to tackle crime? Because for decades now, it seems in the big cities, we've been conditioned to just accept crime as a part of life rather than something that can actually be reduced dramatically, perhaps even eliminated.
He can legally, and this is the part of the legal argument going on, he can if he calls it a federal emergency. And they can be called into police crime. But look, I'm just telling you from a conservative perspective, I have always and will always lean toward smaller government, less federal intervention, and local community governance. That's just the way I am wired. It's my conservative belief system. I believe long-term, that is better than a short-term fix, okay? Look, I will tell you this. One of my biggest problems I have for American democracy is the growth in executive power. I don't like it. I don't like it for Trump. I didn't like it under Biden. I didn't like it under Obama, which is where we saw the real growth. And I think it's a real danger to our democracy when you have executive growth like we've seen it. I just don't like it. I'm sorry, Rita, I just don't.